Are you going to have an LGBT voice talking about it? Interesting.
Oh.
Sorry? Nothing, carry on, go on.
Owen, seriously.
I've had enough of this. I'm going home.
Owen, genuinely. We're trying to have a civilised conversation. I know you're upset. You're upset and you're angry. I'm quite right. Everyone's upset and angry about this, but storming off a TV set.
Right, well, I think we'll continue the press preview.
Yes.
The way political YouTubers work is they generate their popularity by conveying to their audience that they're providing something different. They have a cultural capital, or a political capital in this case, which is generated by doing something different, by challenging power. This means they have to provide alternative perspectives. They've got to remind you they're not part of that system, which they're, to be fair, they're not part of that system. They cannot use mainstream media primarily. Keyword here is primarily, so this is the main issue for today. They use digital systems. So it is things like YouTube, it is things like Twitter, or maybe TikTok, or even Instagram. Now those have problems themselves. They are gigantic media corporations owned by other corporations, and they do restrict freedom of speech. They have their own systems of control. Nevertheless, the common perception is that these are freer systems for some kinds, I guess, of freedom of speech, and YouTube in particular is seen as freer because it doesn't have the personal editorial control which you might have on a program. So if you're going to get on BBC News, or you're going to get on ITV, you're going to be vetted by individuals. Then you're going to have various editors and producers who are vetting perhaps what you're going to say. If you're ever going to appear again, so there'll be a punishment for bad or improper behaviour, ideas that are not allowed, for example. And that is a system. This is all a system of control. And we can understand that media system by thinking about the work of Nick Couldry. So Nick Couldry is a very eminent professor, and he developed a concept which we could use here, which is called the mediated centre. The principle is, of the mediated centre, there are certain television shows, including things like, let's say, breakfast television shows, Good Morning Britain, or Newsnight, or Sky News, or News at 10, maybe a key Sky News show, but like News at 10, the press review, let's say press review. These are shows which present themselves as the centre of public life. They know the popular view of things. They naturalise things as normal. And the way Couldry's system breaks this down is they naturalise three main things. So we have categories. So these are very important. So cultural categories. It could be to do with race. It could be to do with identity. It could be to do with class. They establish an order for looking at the world. Key to these categories are who is in the media and who is out of the media, who is in society and who is out of society. So we create limitations on public debate, and also we reinforce the popularity and power of the media itself. So you have the common folk who are perhaps not part of the media system. Their view is important, and we like to flirt with seeing their views, but the authority is perhaps the presenter of the show, if there is like a long-term key presenter, usually a guy. So someone like Piers would be such a presenter. So these systems assert a hierarchy. So it's a hierarchy of power at which the media system itself, the companies and the owners of those companies and the powerful figures, including presenters of those companies, are the top of that power system. So it's a self-fulfilling power system. Also, the last of these categories is reality. So they would establish political reality, norms. So they might establish something as innocuous as norms of fashion, which is political, is the communication itself, I've got to say. But also it could be things like the norms of the monarchy. So if they talk about the monarchy in a way as if the entire of the nation is completely on board and loves the monarchy at all times and every way, this is naturalised as a norm, and this will be seen as the centre of British public life. It is the mediated centre. When Ash Sarkar of Novara Media appears on television, she provides a great example of what happens when YouTubers, political YouTubers who have this alternative system of reputation, the outsider, the countercultural, subcultural capital outside the system, what happens when they're inside the system. So when they go inside it, it disrupts that system and they start breaking apart all of these categories. So they start breaking apart the categories, the hierarchy and the reality, the things which Couldry suggests are part of this mediated centre. So there are 3 examples here which I think are very useful for us to look at. The first is Ash Sarkar appearing on Sky News, and this is something which is reposted on the Novara Media channel in a video called "Is Britain Racist?" and she's debating with Peter Whittle.
Well, let's take a closer look at the legacy of that speech and what it means in modern Britain. Well, I'm joined now by Ash Sarkar, Senior Editor at Novara Media, and Peter Whittle, UKIP London Assembly Member. Very good morning to both of you. Ash Sarkar, let me bring you in on that. What do you think? Is Britain a racist country today? Have we evolved from the times of Enoch Powell's speech?
I mean, obviously a lot has changed since the time of Enoch Powell, but you know, the reason why I'm smiling is that almost exactly a year ago, Sky News brought me in to discuss this exact topic, is Britain racist? And yet the conversation has not moved forward from that point. And what worries me is that multiple independent organisations, including Theresa May's own race disparity audit, has found evidence of institutionalised racist discrimination. And yet we keep debating whether or not racist discrimination even exists.
Because the two are completely separate, and this is a problem which came about because obviously he was fired, and after that all kind of discussion has pretty much been closed down.
Your response to that, Ash Sarkar?
There's a cultural theorist called Stuart Hall, an amazing cultural theorist, who wrote that while Mr. Powell lost, Powellism itself had won, because the achievement of the Rivers of Blood speech was that it drew together immigration, race and anxieties around the nation state. And this played out with sometimes fatal consequences. In the 60s and 70s, we had racist hate crimes like the murder of Altab Ali, and more recently, we will mark another anniversary, the 25-year anniversary of the murder of Stephen Lawrence. And it's nearly 20 years since the Macpherson report gave us that phrase, institutional racism. I don't think that we are adequately dealing with these issues. And weirdly enough, I agree with my fellow debater in that racism is not simply a matter of the right wing. It's something that permeates the entirety of our political culture. And the only way we are going to be able to deal with it successfully is if we're really honest about ourselves about that fact.
Now you see there in this video, the language Ash uses is disruptive. It makes the audience think about categories, it makes them think about labelling us and them, in particular the nation, and I think addressing the principle of the idea of nation and others really challenges something which is implicit in Sky News here, which is the normalisation of whiteness as the norm of Britishness, when in actual fact Britain has been a multicultural country significantly for a long time, especially with big waves of immigration in the 1950s and in the 1990s. So it's a well-established multicultural society. It's got white people in it, it's got a big white culture, but it is multicultural, not still this whiteness which is greeting others. In the second example, we can look at Ash appearing on Good Morning Britain. Now, the format of the Good Morning Britain show is that guests are invited on into a space which is controlled really by Piers Morgan and his co-host Susanna Reid. She generally, she might challenge him a little bit, but generally she's going to affirm his views, or she's going to defer to him as a kind of authority. He kind of demands authority in the space through his performance. So normally Ash pushes back, challenges him, this does happen, but on this particular day, Piers Morgan took it a little bit too far, challenged Ash's political beliefs, and she responded with the phrase, "I'm literally a communist, you idiot."
Put up many fans.
Yes, I did, and that's why.
Where was your protest march against that when he came to the country?
And that's why I also
But if you feel so strongly about it, Ash, where was your protest march against Obama?
In this country
if you found that unconscionable too, where was the march?
You do not have to go out and march against
standards.
everything in order to make a point about one thing.
No, if you find them both unconscionable and it's the same issue,
wrong.
you have to march twice, don't you?
I would actually encourage you to maybe check out some of the other work that I've done, where I've been intensely...
Tell you what I do, Ash, I go and check out some basic facts about your hero, Obama.
He's not my hero. I'm a communist, you idiot.
You didn't plan any protests against him, did you?
Now, this became a viral moment when it was reposted on the Novara Media channel. It received over 7 million views, which is unprecedented. It's really out of the scheme of things for Novara Media. And it really resonated with fans because it was challenging institutional power on that network, on ITV. So it was really like challenging ITV itself. It was a disruptive moment, a very disruptive moment. The last example we can look at, which is Ash appearing on Newsnight. Now, Newsnight itself is a traditional British show. It's been running a long time. It has familiar music. It has set. It's almost church-like. It has its dark figures espousing these highly educated, informed opinions, but there is limits. There's limits on Newsnight's opinions, and to use Couldry's approach, it is about establishing reality. So what happens is, on the show, you might have someone who isn't totally in love with the monarchy appear on the show, but it's not going to end up as the concluding opinion in a debate. It's not going to represent the programme itself. That is going to be, in some small way, it's going to be a rejected opinion if it is entertained on the show. But Ash Sarkar, talking about the royal family, described them as a cartel of weird people.
Novara Media's royal correspondent Ash Sarkar has been on the BBC talking about the coronation, and she didn't hold back.
But when it comes to this generation in particular, young people are interested in the values of fairness and in the values of representation. And whatever way you slice it, the monarchy is neither a fair nor a representative institution. And this is where I've got to disagree with you, Rosie, just a little bit. There have been attempts by the royal family to strip themselves of some of the mystery, invite the media in and show the public what they really do. And what they've revealed themselves to be is a cartel of some very weird people. And I think that the more that social media, 24-hour news, tabloid press intrusion gets us to see who they are as individuals, which is people who have been made, in many cases, deeply unhappy by the institution that they were born into, the less people are inclined to support the monarchy either as a political national institution or just a kind of, old school celebrity that they can secretly enjoy.
It's a very funny, playful language which resonated hugely. So this did receive coverage. She received coverage in the Evening Standard, and later she was in an interview with Elle magazine, who respected her, giving her voice a platform. Also, one thing which is, I think, very instructive here is Michael Walker, who framed the video when he introduced it, when it was reposted again on the Novara Media channel, and he jokingly referred to Ash as the royal correspondent. Now, this really hit home with viewers of Novara Media. She had a lot of people, in particular, someone described it as absolute gold, and this received 448 likes. Studies of YouTube tell us when there's a lot of likes on a comment, it means it really is resonating, and it's reflecting the often the identity of the viewers. It feels like it is their voice, it's speaking to them, and by clicking it, they're saying, this is my identity. So the idea of her being the royal correspondent is especially funny because the royal correspondent is a very conforming position. It really does capture, it embodies the way the mainstream media really is complicit and working with the monarchy in the UK. So when we have someone from alternative media, it's kind of impossible for them to be a royal correspondent. It's kind of a funny thing by its nature, which is why it spoke out. So again, this is disruption. This is disruption. It's making the audience who are watching this think, oh my God, this is a weird thing to be happening. Why is this weird? Because it's challenging the norms of support for the monarchy, which is naturalised in the mediated centre of BBC shows like Newsnight. The reason this is all so important is because there are more YouTubers out there. There are some people who've been shamed for one reason or another in mainstream media moving to YouTube. Then you have people who are established journalists, maybe someone like Owen Jones, who's then moving to YouTube. And a lot of these figures do earn capital with their audiences in the YouTube space by asserting their alternative capital. They're doing something different, they're challenging the mainstream. So like Ash Sarkar, when they appear on mainstream media, you still have to maintain that reputation. So which audience are you playing to? Is it the YouTube audience, who are often watching when these videos are reposted on YouTube, who are your real fans, or is it possibly acquiring new fans, the mainstream audience, and earning capital that way, and maybe even a career? So it seems that Ash Sarkar has made a clear choice. She is working for her YouTube fans, the alternative system, and she is in small and big ways blowing apart and disrupting that mainstream media system. There are others doing it too. The more people begin YouTube accounts, generate capital for themselves in this way, mainstream journalists, people working in the mainstream, and people breaking into it from YouTube, the more the mainstream is going to fragment, become contradictory, and the mediated centre, Couldry's mediated centre, is kind of being broken apart by the intrusion of these digital players, these people from YouTube who are introducing new opinions in unexpected ways.